You're watching NBA Now. I am your host, Harrison Graham, filling in for Hater Jimmy. He will be back very, very soon. But we got a lot of NBA news, rumors, and especially trade rumors to get into. Let's start with the Clippers. How about Paul George? This is an idea that's floating around out there because Kendrick Perkins, who very dialed in, of course, he's got sources all across the league, he claims, hey, the Clippers, they're blowing it up. They're breaking up that core. Now, maybe not a full blow up like the Rockets might do, but he thinks that they could split up Kawhi and Paul George, and they're not going to trade Kawhi. So that brings me to the point of, well, it's got to be Paul George if this were to happen. And let's be honest, he was a disaster in the playoffs. It did not look good for Paul George. More on his playoff numbers in a sec, but here's what Perk had to say. He said the Clippers are going to break this up whether you like it or not. I heard from an inside source, my former head coach Doc Rivers. They're all going to break this up. They are going to break this up. I don't know if Doc's a source. I don't know if he has a source. I just thought that was a little bit funny. This is not funny according to Clippers fans. This is bad. 20 points per game, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Well below his three-point shooting percentage average. Check this out, too. Under 40% from the field in the playoffs. That's not what a number 2 is supposed to do. Paul George did not get it done in the postseason for the Los Angeles Clippers, and he's going to have to play a lot better next season if they keep him around. But there's a reason the idea of trading Paul George has been brought to the table, because the Clippers came way short this postseason, and Paul George was a big reason why. So what's the proper nickname at this point? Is it Playoff P or is it Pandemic P, which was started by our boy Hater Jimmy here? I'm typing 2 for Pandemic P based on what I saw this year, based on what I saw last year with OKC. We haven't seen Playoff P in quite a time. Here's a wild card nickname, by the way. PG-19. Anybody? One of my buddies brought that one up. Yes, no, don't like it? Let me know. Type 1 for Playoff P, type 2 for Pandemic P. What is the better nickname for Paul George? And more on the Clippers here as they kind of decide what the game plan is this offseason is, well, are you going to bring back Montrezl Harrell, Reggie Jackson, Marcus Morris, or some other key free agents for them as well? You can't pay everybody. Luckily, Lou Williams is under contract for one more year for very cheap. And honestly, looking ahead, Kawhi and Paul George can opt out after next year. So it's not like you've got this core for 3 or 4 years. Some decisions have to be made starting this summer. That's still a good lineup on paper. That's if you lose Montrez and Marcus Morris. That's your starting 5. That's still pretty good with Lou Williams as your 6th man, but hey, we thought it was really good this year. I'll be the first to admit, I was riding with the Clippers all year. Every time I did NBA Power Rankings here on Chat Sports, I had the Clippers number 1. I said, don't worry about the regular season. They're doing load management. You know, they're taking nights off. They're kind of moseying around. Well, it kind of bit them in the ass, and I'll be the first to admit that they approached this season very, very wrong, and they didn't get it done in the postseason. So should the Clippers trade Paul George? Type Y for yes, type N for no. We'll make this the pinned comment on today's video. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can scroll on down and answer right there. Another trade, Chris Paul to the Knicks. Not the first time we've heard this one, right? Look, the Knicks are exploring the idea of a splashy trade. What year is it, right? This happens every year. I don't think this is a good idea for them, but I will say this. I do think Chris Paul has some trade value after a strong resurgent season with OKC. He was good. Made one of the All-NBA teams after this year. 17.5 points, 5 boards, 7 assists, shot the ball well from deep, and there's no doubt his presence was felt on that young roster in Oklahoma City. No one had OKC making the playoffs, much less as in the 4-5 matchup in the first round. Like, he played really, really well and was healthy most of the season, which is a big deal for Oklahoma City and especially Chris Paul because his contract has got about 2 years and $85 million left on it. Before this season, that was untradeable. Maybe it might be tradable now, and the Knicks are a team that do have some flexibility, so I do think it'll be interesting to see if they make a move for a guy like Chris Paul. They're going to be linked to, all available superstars as they always are, but will this be the year that the Knicks finally are able to get a player via trade or in free agency? I promise you, if they trade for Chris Paul, we're going to have a video going up on the channel. And hey, the offseason's coming up. Don't miss a thing. Our coverage actually increases during the offseason because we have free agency coverage draft coverage, trade rumors, SZN. That's what we're all about here at Chat Sports when it comes to the NBA. Hit that subscribe button. Don't miss any of the wild free agency palooza that's going to be coming up this off season. And we got videos up until then as well. So go ahead and subscribe right now. Maybe they don't want Chris Paul. Maybe they want Russell Westbrook. I've seen this idea floated around there as well. Why would anybody trade for Westbrook at this point? He's not a winning player. I'm sorry. For about 2 months earlier this season, Westbrook, he tricked me. He tricked all of us. In January and February, he played the best 2-month stretch of his career, and then the NBA went into shutdown mode. After the shutdown into the NBA bubble, he was the same old Westbrook we always come to know and do not love, because he is just a ball-dominant guard that can't shoot. That doesn't work in today's NBA. He shot 26% from three from your point guard. That's a problem, and he's a turnover machine. He's not good in crunch time. Chris Paul totally schooled Russell Westbrook in that first-round series this year, but the Rockets have a few extra pieces, let's be honest. That should never have been a 7-gamer, and Chris Paul almost pulled it off, but Russell Westbrook, I'll say this, and an anonymous NBA executive did say recently that the Knicks might be the one team that would be interested in trading for Russ because, well, it's the Knicks, and they're desperate for anything at this point. So if you're Houston, you got some big decisions to make on whether or not you break up Harden and Westbrook. The Knicks do have that cap flexibility, like I mentioned here. Bobby Portis is $15.5 million there, team option. They can opt out of that. Taj Gibson, only $1 million of that is guaranteed. Same with Ellington, Elfrid Payton, and Reggie Bullock. Between those four guys, they're only owed each $1 million in guaranteed money. So they can cut all that salary cap, which is what? Do quick math here, Harrison. 24, 32, 40. That's about $45 million that you can clear out in cap space. What does Russell Westbrook make? About $42 million. So you could make this work if you are the New York Knicks. I guess if you want to put, I'd say you want to put fans in the seats as a trade you make. Are there going to be fans next year? Probably not. So I don't know if I would do this if I am James Dolan, which means he'll probably try to. So pick a point guard. Type RW for Russell Westbrook. Type CP3 for Chris Paul. It's weird because despite all of that, you'd probably pick Westbrook, right? He's younger, he's got probably more years left. I like Chris Paul better as a player, but I'll get a couple of shout-outs and let me know what you guys think. CP3 from C Daddy. Otis says CP3. FV says, why not? I'm not sure who FV is at Fred Van Vliet. CP3 from Lillard. Isaiah says CP3. It's about 75% CP3 is only seeing a couple of Russell Westbrooks, and hey, I can't blame you guys at this point. Oh, we got drama in Boston. Another meltdown in Game 2. Boston had leads in both Games 1 and Game 2, especially that second game. They probably should have won, and they got outscored 59-41 in the second half. Then reports started surfacing. Marcus Smart is heard yelling and cursing in the locker room after the Game 2 loss to Miami. Is this that much drama? I know this is the trendy topic right now. This is an emotional player, which is what Brad Stevens said after the game, and tempers are high, right? This is Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Woj said that the team met with Stevens, the higher-ups, I would say the team leaders, Smart, Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker, Jaylen Brown. They met. There was high emotions, no physical confrontation. This seems to be blown out of proportion, but look, that was a major loss because you even that thing up at one game apiece. All of a sudden, you got yourself a series. Now the Celtics are in a 2-0 hole trying to get to the NBA Finals for the first time under Brad Stevens. Now they got a long way to go if they are going to get there. But there is some drama going on here. I think once Game 3 gets going and the Celtics play well, no one's going to remember this story. But as of now, there is a little bit of drama. So how many games will this series go? Heat versus Celtics. Miami up 2-0. Game 3 coming up in the next couple of days, I believe on Saturday night. How many games will it go? 4, 5, 6, or 7? It's the only 4 answers you can choose from. Let me know how many games Boston versus Miami will go. I'm seeing only 4 from John. He thinks Miami is going to sweep this. We got NBA jerseys available for 25% off. We've been told this is for a limited time only, so you got to take advantage right now. Go to chatsports.com/NBA jerseys. That link will redirect you to all of these jerseys. The ones I'm showing you, these are all on sale as we are live here, so go ahead and take advantage of this deal. Chatsports.com/NBA jerseys, 25% off. Take advantage of it. Lots of the top players from all the top teams. Get an NBA jersey brand new right now. All right, let's get into some draft stuff, specifically with the Warriors. They're eyeing Deni Avdija. This is not necessarily a news story, but the new report is that they like him better than Lamelo Ball at this point, which is interesting because these are two of the top 5 or so prospects, and most have Ball ahead of Avdija, but the Warriors are looking at the foreigner out of Israel. This is kind of a guy who can do a little bit of everything. He can score, he can dish, he can rebound, pretty good shooter as well. He has good form, needs to improve his three-point shooting, but I think that will come with reps for Deni Avdija. What's interesting here is some people have compared him to mini Luka. That's not really his game. He's more of an off-ball guy, a secondary ball handler, where Luka Doncic is the guy who wants the ball in his hands at all times. Maybe he becomes that, but that's not really who he's been overseas in Europe. So it'll be fascinating to see where he goes in the NBA draft. I do think he will be the top prospect taken from overseas this year. I just don't know if Golden State will take him with the number 2 pick, but I do think this is something to monitor, that they like him over LaMelo Ball and James Wiseman, I read as well. And at that point, you're like, okay, so maybe it's him or Anthony Edwards. If he's available at number 2, those are kind of the only other guys in the mix for those top 2 or 3 picks in this year's NBA draft. Certainly things can change, but as of now, all eyes are on what the Golden State Warriors are going to do. So what will they do with the number 2 pick? Type K for keep it, type T for trade it. Oh, man, this has been a hot topic in NBA circles. We've talked about it a bunch here at Chat Sports. I still would lean trade it, but I don't know how much value this pick has this year. There's all weird stuff going on. The draft's been moved a couple of times. How much scouting has actually been done? It'll be interesting to see. I know that Bob Myers and the Warriors are going to get creative and try and work out a trade, but they could certainly keep it and take one of these top picks. All right, I got to get into this as well. Obviously, the news of the day, the Greek Freak has won his 2nd straight MVP as Giannis takes it home for a 2nd straight season. Kind of a weird feeling, right? Because the Bucks are out of the playoffs. Usually, when whoever wins MVP, they're still in the postseason. That is not the case this year, as Milwaukee was not the same team in the NBA bubble as they were before the shutdown. But if you're looking at just the regular season, he had the best regular season. I know it feels weird. I know he didn't play that well in the playoffs. I know there's a lot of drama surrounding the Bucks, and LeBron's still playing. He should have won it. Should he, though? Should he have, though? It wasn't that long ago we were talking about, man, LeBron looks slow. He doesn't look like the same guy, and now everybody's reverted, LeBron should have won MVP. He wasn't the better player in the regular season. That's just the reality of it. I think the Lakers without LeBron, with Anthony Davis in that core, would win more games than the Bucks without Giannis. What are the Bucks without Giannis? Eric Bledsoe? Chris Middleton? It's not going to happen. I think that this is the right winner here for the Greek Freak to win the MVP. We all know he's got to be better in the playoffs. What he's done the past couple of playoff runs, not good enough. But as far as regular season goes, and it's a regular season award, this was the MVP this year. But I'll leave it up to you guys. Who should have won NBA MVP? Go ahead and type G for Giannis, or you can type L for LeBron.